Good evening. Yes, we're back to some vampires. This is Geeks Assembled, and we are talking about an interesting television series called The Interview with a Vampire. And this is the Anne Rice series put out by, I can't remember, is it AMC? Yes, I do believe it is AMC, AMC Plus. And okay, first off before we ask Lee for his opening thoughts is just to know that once Anne Rice had passed away, Christopher Rice, her son, became more there was more liberty to utilize all these works that she had written, and so there will be a lot more of these. They just came out with another series just like 3 weeks ago that's called The Mayfair Witches, which is another one of her voluminous series, many volumes. And there's just, yeah, so Anne Rice is being televised because she writes very sensual, very erotic literature, and come to find out that you will be drawn in to her stories on the television side of things now. And AMC is producing a lot of these things. So I don't know how many they have the rights for, but I believe that if they started this, that they will continue because there's quite a few. And with that, I'd like to ask my friend Lee over here. Lee, thanks for joining me on this this examination, this review out of 10 points. This review of this television series. How did you find it?
Well, I've just got a fact here in my QI fact book, right? If a vampire were to feed once a day and turn each of his victims into a vampire, the entire human population of the planet,
yes,
would become vampires in just over a month.
Oh, nice.
And I was just reading that popped up today.
Oh, very nice.
I just get that little fact in there. So just over a month, the whole population. Good job.
Wow.
Yeah, good job we didn't let Claudia out. Yeah, I watched this series through the week. Before we came on, I asked Susan, because we did do the review of the movie a few years back.
Yes.
Because I was a little bit confused because the movie was set in the 1700s. And this movie started off in the 1920s. This TV series started off in the 1920s. So I thought, which one's been changed?
The first interview that he did on tape was in the 1920s, and and then his transformation into a vampire is the 1700s. But the second part of this, the second interview, the one that we see the most of, is in Dubai.
In Dubai, in the modern day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this series goes a bit more into the sexuality of Lestat than the movie ever did. I quite liked. It was more open. It didn't hide anything. And it was more I don't know what it romance led.
Hmm.
But I tell you something, I hated Claudia.
Hmm.
Oh, I could have slapped her
Hmm.
several times because by the end of watching it, you feel for Lestat. He's been lonely for nearly 200 years, say, and he finally finds Louis, and Claudia drives. I was just going to say drives a stake between them, but drive
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
drives them apart and gets into Louis' head that
Hmm.
them destroy Lestat. Um, I mean, okay, yeah, Lestat is a vicious vampire,
Hmm.
but that's the way of the vampire.
Yep.
You can't survive on eating cats, pigeons, whatever. You're a vampire. You need human blood.
Hmm.
Um, and in this series, Louis does, by the modern day, is drinking human blood.
Yeah.
So it proves that he realised that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I liked it. I mean, it was only 7 episodes, odd number for a series. Um, but there is a second season coming up with 8 episodes apparently. So some great acting in this. Not many familiar actors to me. So I don't know if you know any of these actors, but I've never really seen them in much. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it. It was full on blood, full on romance, full on vampires sharing one coffin sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Sam Reed played Lestat. I think he's an Australian actor. Which when he was on screen, and I thought, do you know what? For Lestat, they've got an actor what sort of looked like Brad Pitt, who was in the original movie playing Louis,
Yeah.
and then you got Jacob Anderson playing Louis, whose voice was just sounded like Brad Pitt in the movie. And I thought, what's going on here? I'm getting Brad Pitt vibes from both actors.
Mm.
But two brilliant main actors, two of them were, full on. The the watching, I was just watching and I was engrossed every time there was both on together on the same time together. Well, either if they were being romantic or if they were at each other, fighting or whatever, arguing. I just couldn't take my eyes off them. It was a powerhouse, and a great story. I mean, a lot in this was left out of the movie,
Yeah.
but also the movie had a lot more of the vampire theatre.
Yeah. This they didn't even make it there yet.
No, that's leading up to it because of the where it ends off on the cliffhanger with the vampire Armand.
Yeah.
Because he was from the theatre, wasn't he?
Yes. And they still haven't gone to the cross the ocean yet.
Paris.
Yes.
So yeah, I enjoyed it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next one, but you must be going to have to wait another year for that, aren't we?
Yeah.
So back to you, Susan.
Okay. So Claudia was um the reason that her character was sort of placed in the story was to break apart Louis and Lestat uh give Lestat a chance to be free of Louis for a bit. You know, he has yet to go back. When he goes back overseas, that's when all of the important things happen with those who must be kept and all the other things that go on with Marius and stuff like that, and Armand and Louis and Armand, and Lestat's connection with the theater and his destruction of that and stuff. You know, there's you just have to get these two kind of broken apart for those stories to happen. And also, you know, Armand, the whole thing where Armand is saying, you know, I'm working with a god here. That's pretty amazing. You know, that was Armand really didn't have to worship at the feet of Louis, but they made it so that he did again. So that's just fun so you'll definitely see a lot more of they made him a little older than he was in the books. So
Armand or Louis?
Armand.
Right, okay.
Armand was supposed to be about 15 or 14 or something like that, just a kid. 16, I don't know. So
it was played by Antonio Banderas in the movie, though.
I know that
Yeah.
that the movie didn't want to have anything touching on the sexuality points, you know. Mm-hmm. So that movie was sort of a desexualized version of the story.
It was culled by the movie company.
Yeah, the important thing to realize is that Anne Rice writes sensual, erotic literature, and this is very sensual and very erotic.
Yeah,
I mean, she has stories about S&M in nation state version S&M, like how Middle Ages nation states participated in S&M as under the name Anne Rampling, and the stories are called Sleeping Beauty, and Beauty is taken and then Beauty is freed or something like that. Anyway, there's three books in that series, and it's nothing but, you know, it's basically S&M porn, and that's just fun. But she writes to the erotic. She writes towards the erotic in everything that she does, even in Jesus Christ out of Canaan and Jesus Christ is Lord. You know, there's a sensuality there that is evocative and sexual. It's different. I mean, the way she looks at the world is completely unique to her. I just love her works. I think that because of that she's just brilliant. And so Armand was supposed to be younger. He was supposed to be like this cherubic sort of Russian boy, and that's I don't know, or French, I don't know, who knows. Anyway, so that's Armand, and then Claudia was the reason that she put Claudia as such a young person was because she wanted to show that once you become a vampire, doesn't matter how many times you you come of age or you have sex or you have your first time, you'll always go revert back the next day to your childhood. It's like no matter what you do throughout the course of the day, you go back into the coffin the next. Well, you're back
Camera's off. Oh,
in the childhood again.
Yeah.
And and all of that stuff, and that's really frustrating for a woman who starts off at 14 or 15 and then goes all the way up to like 39, 49, 59, 69, and she's still having to relive that every single day. I mean, that's the real frustrating. And like then this whole thing happens with the theater of the vampires in Paris. And then the other thing that, oh geez, come on. And then the other thing that's really amazing is that there's this whole thing with Eric Bogosian playing the writer Daniel. And Daniel was such a child when he was writing it in the early 80s or whatever. Like and in the 20s when he was like when yeah, I mean, like they were just looking at him as Armand and Louis were looking at Daniel as a child, and that was fun because like you get to see Daniel, you know, as jaded and as old as he is, he's not as jaded and as old as the vampires around him. So that's kind of fun. And he is not, if not subtly, but really turned on by this whole thing. Because otherwise, why would he be back there doing that? And so like that's kind of fun. And let's see, there's and he has Parkinson's and I have Parkinson's, so that's good. That was a cool connection. Anyway, I really enjoy these stories, and so what what stood out to you? What were your favorite moments?
I mean, I love the setting. New Orleans, 1920s. The sets, the costumes were amazing. What stood out for me was the night he sort of turned Louis, and he sort of destruction in the church, the two priests, and then later on in the episodes, Louis then realizes that he is a vampire, and when he attacks the guy in his room, I am a vampire, and rips him to shreds and hangs him on a gate. Just great acting. I mean, I would, as I said earlier, I would have slapped Claudia from One to Kingdom Come. Really, she was so annoying, but that's what teenagers are like. If they don't get their own way. But she was OTT. Writing. You could see she was winding Lestat up all the time. Or as she called him, Uncle Les. But yeah, great story. Fleshed out more. They say I was only used to the movie from back in the early 90s. Fleshed out more, as you say. We've only got half of this, and it's the vampire theatres to come in the next season. So I'm looking forward to it. But the acting, Sam Reed as Lestat is amazing. Yes, I've never heard of him before. And who was the other one? Jacob Anderson as Louis. I've
Yeah.
never Never really come across him before. Just looking at see what he's done. Oh, Game of Thrones. Grey Worm. Oh, right, yeah. Grey Worm. Doctor Who as well. He's been in Doctor Who apparently. So I don't know I don't know what it was in Doctor Who, but there you go. Mostly some when I wasn't watching it. But he's a British actor. He's Jacob.
He played a character called Vinder.
I don't know.
And in Game of Thrones, he played a character called the Grey Worm.
Yeah, I've just seen that. I remember him in Game of Thrones. I don't know about the Doctor Who one.
And he also was in Broadchurch. He played the the friend of the kid who died.
Ah, right. So, oh, here we are. He had a recurring role in Doctor Who, apparently. Series 13 and The Power of the Doctor, apparently, he was in. So there you go.
Yep.
But yeah, two great actors, and you could see the chemistry between them.
Yeah, they were the full ship.
Also, to work all that time with those contact lenses in.
I know, it's awesome.
I mean, it must have been contact lenses. I don't think it would have been CGI thingies, but I couldn't do that work with all those contacts in all the time. But them looked amazing.
They did.
And the way, for me, Lestat, just can change on, just like that. The way he played classical music on the piano, and then the next time it's all jazz, ragtime, blue. How he could sort of just easily change, unpredictable.
I know.
I love it. I love it. It was a great. I'm glad you suggested it, Susan.
Yeah.
I know you love everything vampire.
I do, and this the lore in this was great. I mean, the fact that yes, they could stay up in the daytime, but if they got in direct sunlight, that would fuck them up really bad. They burn into ash.
Yeah.
And they were Claudia played with it, and
Brilliant.
Louis tried to walk out one day in the sunshine, and
We didn't realize that, did he, at the time?
Yeah.
He just wanted to get home to the family.
Yeah, didn't dang near burn himself up, and what did he cover himself with milk or something? And then they had that opening in the ceiling, and so they let the light in, but they would definitely ratchet it down whenever they were awake. Anyway, it had an iris like an eye, so it was like, yeah, they knew that they were being watched. And the other thing that I liked was I love the fire scene because that was that showed that vampires are afraid of fire, but they're not. It's not so unbelievably dangerous that they won't run in and save something if they're yeah, that was really cool. And the other thing about the lore was that you could see them beautifully in any mirror.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, they had reflection.
They had reflections, and that's just different from many other vampire stories. And there wasn't any garlic, and there wasn't any they loved crucifixes. They were perfectly able to walk in church. They were able to get in contact with holy water. That was all to do with their soul, because Anne Rice writes to people who, have a hell of a lot of agnostic or, seeker's doubt about aspects of soul, aspects of spirit, aspects of spirituality, especially for people who are fallen, like witches or vampires or body snatchers or any of these other cool kind of characters that she writes about. She talks, or demons even, that these people, these characters can find solace in the church, and that's just so against the way that, like, a lot of the other lore goes, you know.
I just look. It was just a fantastic vampire love story.
It was, it was quite loving, and I love
Yeah.
how they were they would sneak back and forth to each other's Lestat and Louis would bounce back and forth to each other's coffin, either naked or clothed or whatever, in the nighttime. And Claudia would always like, oh, there they go again. And then,
right in the diary.
Right in the diary. But yeah, they were
It's also like the way they were walking the streets together, or in socializing in these places, and they were getting all these looks off the people.
Yeah.
People knew there were an item.
Yeah.
And
but New Orleans was crazy enough and cool enough that they weren't attacked for that, just overtly, and that's cool. But they weren't. It was interesting that Louis did suffer being a man of color, and when the reason that he tore out that guy's intestines and hung him on the post was because he was a racist motherfucker, and so he had that. He had a sign on there with him that said "whites only."
Yeah.
So I mean, he dealt with he dealt with that racist motherfucker just the way he should have. But yeah, anyway, that was crazy.
Well, it was when Louis' family turned against him.
Yeah.
After his brother's suicide.
Yeah.
His mother just blamed him for it all. I mean, that scene where she just grabs his face and looks into his eyes and says, "There he is. There he is. The devil." What did she say? Something, the devil inside.
Mm-hmm.
Just, it must have been heartbreaking for him. He's trying to, he was only bringing birthday presents for his niece and nephews or whatever.
Right.
The sister didn't want anything to do with him. It was just. I suppose it's strange though that they were all aging.
Yeah.
Vampires don't age.
No.
I'm surprised nobody picked up on that more in it. There was only a couple. I think his sister mentioned it, and then the guy who.
So that's why they had to leave New Orleans and go to Europe, because at that point Claudia hadn't aged, and it was like 15 years had gone by and she was still a kid.
Yeah, I mean, the guy threw the photo on the desk and he says, what can you see in that photo? They were all in the photo. He was in the photo. He'd aged. They hadn't.
Yeah, for sure.
So but then he got his comeuppance. Lestat killed him at the masquerade.
Yeah.
But he was the one who had the poisoned blood.
Yes. Which led to a perfect comeuppance for Lestat too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And there's so much of that. There's so many plots and
that was just so confusing.
Yeah, so like there's plots within plots, and
I mean,
and
it's really good that the maker cannot read the mind
of the fledgling.
of the one who he made.
Yeah,
So there's Louis and Claudia chatting away, doing it like that, but Lestat couldn't hear any of it.
right.
I felt sorry for Lestat.
Well,
I mean,
that's actually as it should be because he's a lot like you. He's a brat prince.
but yeah,
Am I right?
all he wanted was love. He found love.
I know.
He would do anything for Louis.
Hmm.
And as he said, as he flew up in the air with Louis, and Louis went, "Let me go." He says, "Anything for you," and let him. He dropped him.
Yep.
I mean, wow, that's what you do to your lover. Anything for you. Great TV show. Enjoyed it. I'm surprised it's not been publicised. Well, really, because I didn't.
It isn't. It isn't all that well known, though. I
I think it was
don't.
this was from last year, wasn't it? October, November time it aired.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
So
And I just heard about it like after like or 4 episodes it started.
yeah,
And I mean, I'm sort of clued in to Anne Rice's stuff.
maybe it's not on a well known channel.
It's on AMC Plus, which is not super well traveled. It's not like Disney or Paramount or whatever.
Well, as I said, I looked all over for it, but I found it
I know.
illegally.
I had to buy it, and I bought the Mayfair Witches as well. So I'm waiting for that one. That one I got in on the first week, obviously. So that it's only on the second week, or the third week is tonight at 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning. The next episode comes out. I
I,
thought it was last night, and I thought my subscription was broken. I was about ready to throw my computer out the window. I was really frustrated, but I really like Anne Rice's stuff, just in general. And let me say this: there, it is a shared universe.
yeah,
So
it's under the umbrella of the calling it, was it the immortal universe?
yeah, it is. It is its own. It is a shared universe. There is a crossover book called Black Stone Manor or Black Blood Manor.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's where the witches meet the some of the offspring of the
Well, I hope once they do Interview with the Vampire Part 2, which is the next season,
yeah,
I hope they do carry on with maybe Queen of the Damned and
or the vampire Lestat, and then then the Queen of the Damned, and then the Tales of the Body Thief, which is the one where Lestat gets tricked into switching bodies with somebody. I mean, like, yeah, it's really it. I mean, there's lots of funk in this. It gets a little funky. She's a sensuous writer, so of course it's going to get a little funky. So I'm just like what I love is that all of these stories, all of them, um, allow for all of the sexuality just to be present. It's like that's what it looks like. That's beautiful. That's what it looks like. I'm just gonna keep hitting my microphone here, trying to knock my camera off again. Anyway, it's really great. So what would your final say and score be?
it's I loved it. It's gory. It's got a great story. It's sexual. It's everything a vampire would love. Um, so for that reason, it's well acted as well, of course. Um, you see, every time I talk about it, all I can see is Lestat's eyes.
Mm. Mm. You have been mesmerized. You have
Yeah.
been glamored. That's fantastic.
And then you go, oh,
Nice.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I think for me, it did everything what it said it was going to do on the tin. So for me, it's 10 goblets of blood out of 10.
nice. Nice.
It is a good story, good show. Hopefully, it doesn't get cancelled after the second season or whatever.
Agreed. Agreed. Crossing my fingers here too.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I'll agree. It was 10 um oh, what is it? It's 10 coffin snuggles out of 10. And I think that Anne Rice was really reticent to have her stuff uh turned into the visual media. She
Because
was
she hated the Queen of the Damned movie, didn't she?
she didn't like the Queen of the Damned movie. She really had trouble with the Interview with the Vampire movie, even though Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise really tried to knock it out of the park, because that they're well paid actors, but she still struggled with it, and she didn't want Mayfair Witches turned into, she didn't want any of her stuff turned into the visual media. But that's where you can see that through this series that this is where it belongs. It belongs, like, intriguing you and drawing you in, and sucking you into his eyes, like Leah's over there. Like, that's where you belong. You belong listening, and you belong in the universe with these characters, and a lot of that has to do with visual. Partially, the other thing is that a lot of the stuff that she wrote that's adult, that's positively dripping with eroticism, that's basically S&M porn, is she would like to not never have that scene. She wants that completely in your mind's eye. And I mean, I guess it just depends on whether or not Christopher is along for that ride. But go ahead.
Well, I was to say, I mean, I don't know if there's been any backlash of the two main actors playing the leads because of the gay relationship, but because both actors are straight. You know what it is like these days, don't you? It's, oh, they've got to be gay to play gay character. No, you don't. You've got to be a
Well,
good actor.
you don't have to be anything to be in a fiction.
A lot of you get a lot of backlash these days, don't
But
you?
it would be a good idea if you were retelling an actual story about an actual vampire in New Orleans that was gay, that you actually got a gay person to play that actual vampire in actual New Orleans and then set it there. That would be honest. But this is fiction,
Yeah,
and anybody can play any character at all in
exactly.
fiction.
A gay actor can play straight. A straight actor can play gay. That is the way of the acting life.
Yes, that's called acting. I
That
agree.
is called acting. But you do get a lot of backlash these days now, and
But
I
there
don't
is representation. I agree with that if you're doing something like a little more not narrative, but a little more documentary, then of course, then 100% I believe that these things should be properly represented. But like with disabled people, or the whole idea of color representation being completely accurate.
Huh?
Anyway, that's just me.
I
I,
just had
I
to. I just had to get that in there because I know what it's like these days.
Yeah, all right. I can see that. But so we'd like you to join us in like if you have a disagreement with us, please join us and disagree with us in person. Yeah, come on, bring it on. And if you'd like to also, um, you know, figure out what the hell is this? This is a review. It's Geeks Assemble. We do reviews. We've been doing this for like 8 years and we're fucking brilliant at it, and we love to talk about stuff. And this time we talked about this cool as fuck vampire series, and we're gonna continue to talk about some cool shit after this. So please, join us if you're 18 or older, got a device, got a camera, got a microphone, got Zoom, and got some opinions that need to be said, then join us. And also, yeah, if you're on YouTube, hit the subscribe button and then hit the bell notification, because you want to know we're going to turn stuff out a couple times a week if I get around to like fixing the right thing. Anyway, that's my bad. Sorry. The bell notification, though, that's the important thing. Get your notifiers. Anyway, and thanks, Lee, for joining me. Thanks for watching our video. All I have to say is, let the right one in.
I want to drink your blood.
Mm.